Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me this week we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, Trevor?
What is going on? Today we're going to be talking all about some of our other favorite things from 2022. We did our Film of the Year episode last week with Logan. Our original plan was going to be to do our Game of the Year stuff this week, but Frank is still dealing with some personal stuff, so we're giving him another week, and we will hopefully be back next week with that. But yeah, as kind of a one other, like, let's talk about some of our favorite things that, we don't necessarily have like a favorite TV shows of 2022 episode or something like that. We'll just kind of like fold that and all of our other best of 2022 stuff in. So before we hop into that though, a little bit of housekeeping. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So Cam, I'll let you kick things off. Again, this is just kind of like a free form, no real rankings or anything like this. I have a list of things I want to give shout out to from 2022. I know some of them are probably on your list for discussion as well. So we'll just kind of knock things out and let's just chat about other things we loved in 2022 that weren't games and movies and stuff. So hit me with one of your favorite things of 2022.
I think the thing I'm going to start off with, it has to do with anime. Anime in 2022 was just absolutely awesome. It was an awesome year for animation, both Western and, I shouldn't say Western and traditional. That doesn't make any sense. Both, kind of Western cartoons, as well as anime in general. It's just kind of been like a really awesome time to be involved in or just to have access to all this like excellent content that's been coming out. I think that some big standouts this year are definitely going to be something like Chainsaw Man, which has been making the rounds through the mainstream. Those of us who read the manga from its debut years ago have been waiting for this like moment of validation for people to be like, is Chainsaw Man that like lives up to the hype? And it absolutely has. It's been great seeing more people get involved with it. And as this series will continue to go on and get a lot deeper as far as what this actual world, what lies within it outside of just the kind of basic setup that they've established, and kind of like the deeper lore of the world as it is, I'm very much looking forward to the kind of like mind blown moments that I'm looking forward to seeing people have, as well as just getting something awesome like, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. That has been an absolute pleasure. I've been able to repost my meme a couple times this year, which is like, I came for My Gundam Academia, and instead I found like anti-capitalist revolutionary Gundam Utena. Like, that has just been a really awesome time seeing this franchise kind of like enter a new phase in its history, both with its first ever like fully female protagonist and love interest, and just kind of like exploring a very cool side of politics in Gundam that we really haven't seen in a very long time. And that's just been really, really cool to see this sort of side of things. And where it left off with its mid-season finale was awesome. And I can't wait for more of it. I just feel like there's just so much going on, especially when you have something like My Hero Academia that is getting back to what I think is a very divergent point in its storytelling from where it was before to where it will go and continue going. It is, a lot of people have kind of like fallen off the My Hero train because of how like they feel like it's gotten a lot like pretty slow at times, especially starting in like season 3.
I didn't fall off for that. I just fell off just because I was still enjoying My Hero when I fell off, but I fell off. What was it after was it Ori was the little girl? I fell off kind of at the end of her intro arc season.
Oh, so you never finished the overhaul arc?
I finished whatever season that was. I don't know. I don't remember like the specific end beats and stuff like that.
Did you get to the school festival is the question.
I believe so.
Okay. So you saw like the band performances and stuff. Okay, cool. So that tells me where you were at with that. Yeah. That is where I would say is a very big, that's one of the divergent points in the series where kind of like like where a lot of people fell off where you fell off. Not necessarily you said you were enjoying it, but a lot of people also are like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I just like it just didn't draw me immediately into wanting to watch the next season.
It was, yeah. Well, it was for me. It was more like whenever the next season came out. I was always one that like would watch the dubs if I could, and for the last few episodes, because we were like in the height of a pandemic or whatever, like Crunchyroll was not delivering those dubs like day and date like they had in the past. So the last few episodes I saw, I was like, all right, well, I want to see how this story plays out. So I watched like the subtitled versions and stuff like that. And then just, because of everything else that happened in a pandemic, and the directions that entertainment went and stuff like that. I mean, like the last time I watched My Hero was probably from a time before I was watching any kind of like actual play stuff, as an example. So when My Hero came back, I just never got back into it. I didn't like re-up a Crunchyroll or Funimation or whatever I would need to re-up to get that kind of like access to it. And I was just like, all right, I'll let it build up. I'll eventually get back to it, but yeah, nothing is like I've seen conversations and stuff in the Twitter discourse around it and stuff like that. But it's very much like it's building up new episodes that I will eventually circle around to and catch back up on.
Right on. Yeah, it's I'm really excited for where it's going now. Like we have gotten to a point like one of my absolute most favorite moments from the manga finally was animated this past season. It is still like one of my favorite moments, and it was animated and done so incredibly beautifully, both also voice acting wise, both in the sub and the dub. I think both voice actors completely nail that scene. It's phenomenal. And like I was so happy to see like kind of just like the broad reception of that scene on like the quality and animation standpoint, not just the story standpoint. Because it's such an impactful story moment that it honestly could have gone wrong or played played poorly if not done just incredibly well done animation wise and everything else. Like top to bottom on that scene was pitch perfect on every level. And it's great to see something like that you see from the panels of a manga or comic book come to life in a way that makes it really, really cool. And is able to make you remember the feelings that you had at that moment as you re-engage and have those feelings again in that scene where you're like, oh, it's hitting just as hard as it did the first time. Because it's just such a great moment. And it looks like that's still going to continue to be the case. More people got into One Piece because of the pandemic, and a lot of them are caught up, and it's been a great time to be a One Piece fan. One Piece fans are eaten.
It's like One Piece. As I see more and more people get into One Piece, and I see like your reaction of like, yes, let's go. I'm always like, I will never get into One Piece because I know how like much of a behemoth it is. Back from like when you and was it Ian that did the very short-lived that conversational podcast episode on on One Piece. Like I listened to the whole thing and I was like, no, there's way too much One Piece. That would be like getting into Doctor Who and saying like, I'm going to watch all 50 years of Doctor Who, or like now almost 60 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like I got into Doctor Who in the modern era. I have zero interest in going back and like watching, First Doctor, whatever episodes we can find of that and stuff like that. There's just too much. There's too much stuff.
That's fair. When it comes to One Piece, my biggest suggestion always is, if you do not think you can do 1,000+ episodes of a show, just read the manga. It goes by so quickly. Get yourself a Shonen Jump Plus membership. It's $1.99 a month, and you're supporting the publication that puts out the stuff that you love. And at the same time, you can get it digitally on any app, phone, whatever mobile device, or anything that you want to read it on. You can, and it's the quality is always stunning. And so I highly suggest if you are wanting to get into One Piece and you're like, but I don't want to watch it. It's like the reading of it is impeccable. And the best part is that when you read a really cool part, or like you find like a really cool like set of panels or a fight that you like, you go watch the anime, and the anime, you can just find that fight in the anime, watch it and be like, oh, they did a great job with it. Cause they almost always do. The problem with the anime is also there's like, for as many awesome scenes as there are in One Piece, especially when they come up against like way too close to where the source material is, there's a lot of like drawn out stuff. that is just really rough because for people who don't know, One Piece is never takes a break. One Piece is one of the shows that follows an older framework, which is basically the show runs consistently week to week to week to week without any breaks or stops. The course, as it's kind of like the course format, as it's kind of being known as like what we call like what we consider a season of anime, being 9 to 12 episodes or 24 to 26 episodes. That tends to like those first course and second course type stuff is very much where things are at now. That's why there's like, oh, I have to wait to the next season and there's a break. The like One Piece is not one of those shows. It goes on every week, all year long. So it can be quite a lot. And so they burn through a lot of material really quickly and they catch up really quickly. And so a lot of times you get these like kind of filler episodes where nothing really happens or like things are stretched out way too thin. I think one of the biggest problems with Whole Cake Island arc, this means nothing to you, Trevor, but for the fans out there, you know that like the anime really made the Luffy versus Katakuri fight go for a really long time and stretched that out way too thin over way too many episodes. Where if you watch it now all compiled together, it's one of the best fights of the series. So, yeah, it's yeah.
But so One Piece in 2022 continues to be good.
Continues to be like, you know, I said it then and I'll say it again, like in that podcast with Ian, I'll say it again. One Piece is like one of the great contributions to Eastern canon. It in literary form. It continues to be like an absolute masterpiece. So
lovely. Any other anime stuff you want to give a shout out to?
There's plenty, but like
I was gonna say, like one that was on my list, like because I have my like I didn't watch these things, but I'll give them shout outs because the zeitgeist seemed to really like them, and I was gonna say Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Yeah,
mm-hmm. Cyberpunk Edge Runners was phenomenal. It revitalized Cyberpunk as a game again. It was great seeing the love kind of like post all the fixes go into that game finally. And just like the love that people have, but Cyberpunk Edge Runners is I would call it a masterpiece as well. Like it is top to bottom, like one of the best things ever. I've seen people being like, this is how they could do a season 2. It's like, guys, there's not going to be a season 2. That's not how this world works. That's not the way the cyberpunk genre goes, folks. Like we got what we got and that's it. And that breaks a lot of hearts. It broke my heart, but like, that's part of the thing also as well. It's like, what about cyberpunk as a genre makes cyberpunk work? And like, we talked about this when the game originally came out, and I'm like, there's not enough like cyberpunk in Cyberpunk 2077. This show is quintessentially what I was referring to.
Gotcha.
This show is everything I wanted out of a cyberpunk game. And it's sad that like ancillarily, like what we get out of Cyberpunk 2077 is not enough of this.
Yeah. Well, something I'm going to throw some love behind. Let's see. Where do I want to start? I will start with a quick little one, and then maybe I'll throw in a second. But obviously this was a year I got super into Lego, as Cameron is well aware, given just the amount of Lego boxes and stuff in our house now. The closet that he is looking at right now is filled with Lego boxes from me. But in particular, something that I loved this year was getting to share that with like family. And in particular, my family always also has been like big Disney fans. And so for Christmas at the end of 2021, I bought like the family, the Disneyland or Disney World castle and the train station, basically the Disney train station sets. And just kind of like when we would do like weekly family lunches and stuff over the course of the year, grab lunch and then like go back to my parents' house and work with them and build, and whoever made it to lunch that day kind of like chipped in, helped out and all that stuff. That was just such a fun project over the course of the year. And it was a great way to like just enjoy family time and catch up, visit how's work going, how are things, blah, 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 all that stuff. And so much so that that I kind of like carried that tradition on. As I was telling Cam earlier, like just today, I had lunch with my mom, and then we went back and we're building a Lego airport set at their house. So had some fun with that, and it continues to be just like a little joy that I can like have fun sharing with them, and I get to expound on all the other cool things or like little building techniques and stuff like that, Lego wise, and kind of share that level of nerdity with the family in a fun way. In that vein, I will also give a shout out to all of my Disney trips. First and foremost, the Disney trip that we all got to take together as a That Nerdy team, you, me, Logan, and Frank, back at the beginning of 2022. As somebody who obviously was doing like regular Disney trips on my own prior to the pandemic, or would go out and visit and see like Ben and Lauren and stuff like that there. It was just a delight to get to share that weekend with you guys. We did basically a day at Disneyland. We did a day at California Adventure, and just just it was so much fun just getting to, the drive out there was great, getting to visit with everybody, and then just a couple days of straight Disney, getting to see all of your guys' reaction, in particular going into Galaxy's Edge for the first time, was so fun. As that is the magic of Disney that now gets to carry on to like the magic of Disney for adults and for like our generation that grew up loving Star Wars, and to get to go into a Star Wars park was so much fun. But then also, like, I really enjoyed how much you guys all loved California Adventure too. In particular, like Logan loving, Cars Land and stuff like that, especially like when we walked back by at night and saw all the neon lit up and all that stuff. That was just really cool and so much fun getting to enjoy that with everybody.
Shout out to that kid who I 100% was like, to on the Cars ride.
When we did the Radiator Springs ride, and you were taunting this kid in the car next to us.
The kid started off, he was like,
sure he did.
And I was like, okay, kid. And it's like, okay. And then all you guys did was see me, and it's like you didn't see the kid.
Yeah. But so also weird that a kid might behave that way, and we might expect better from an adult friend of ours, but whatever. Yeah, no, definitely taunt kids, Cameron. That's the lesson you should have taken away from that Disney trip.
It was great. Yeah. Shout out also to like Guardians of the Galaxy for literally like almost making me shit my pants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was fun. Like so much of that was like fun because I knew everything that was coming from all these rides, and you guys did not.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm like, first off, I am super impressed with the engineering that has gone behind seatbelt improvements at Disneyland over the last decade.
Sure.
Because, oh my gosh, I was so scared. I was sitting in the back corner, and so I was prepared to do the up, and then when you're up, it drops you, it like pulls you a little bit, and there's a little bit of a gap, and I was fine with that. But it was the drop first. Mm-hmm. Which I was not prepared for. And on top of that, the way that I felt air under my butt, and like I felt like the pull of the seatbelt, mm-hmm. like to pull me down to the seat afterwards, was enough to like send my anxiety into overdrive. And shout out to also them having like just like a bar that you can hold on to.
Yeah.
Because I held on to that bar and I held on to the seatbelt. Like that seatbelt didn't break, and I'm super impressed by that because I gripped the shit out of it. Mm-hmm. I was throttling that because if you look, like we weren't able to finally get our picture from it.
No, I was gonna say that is the one picture we didn't get because and Guardians is always like very finicky in the like photo pass stuff. But yeah, that was the one that never loaded onto the app, despite me having entered it onto my phone. So yeah. It is disappointing that like we didn't get that one. We got a whole bunch of other great picks and stuff like that.
With that one in particular, I loved that one because you see everybody like, oh, and you just see like the top of my head just like not raised up with everybody else.
Yeah, especially because we were also all masked during.
We were all masked as well. But so you just see like the top, like the tip top of my head because it takes the photo expecting you to be like up in the air with it because it's right when it pulls it back down. So you're up in the air a little bit, caught up there. And I was not caught up there because my butt was still in the seat by sheer force of will and like what like my poor arthritic hands could keep gripped onto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Holy crap! But what a great ride! It's still like my favorite ride that we did because it's like it's entertaining, it's fun. Like I love that they're like we all like give this the signal as you raise your hands like this. Oh, and that's the trick to make you do the roller coaster thing.
Yeah,
and it's like there's so many great activations in the line while you're waiting. It's everything else about it is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's got a fun story to the ride, all that stuff. Also, Rise of the Resistance. It was great
Oh
getting
my
to
gosh.
see like
Yeah.
you guys experience all of that for the first time. So much. Yeah, again, just such a fun time. We all built lightsabers, which I had already been through before, but that was fun. Like just because that is, I think, like as somebody who had also done the like Ollivander's wand thing at Universal Studios, like Ollivander's wand, it's like you go into the wand shop and like one kid gets to play with a wand and stuff like that. And this is like everybody is there building their personalized lightsaber. There's a show to it. There's a story to it. There's like a great soundtrack along with the whole thing. And we were just all, little kids again. And we also got like all of our, like we followed what I had done before. So it was like, all right, we're going to book this for basically like an evening time. So when we're done, we can go out and get badass pictures in front of the Millennium Falcon with our lightsabers lit up at night, and just have a great time. We got to go into Oga's Cantina, enjoy a drink or two. Logan had some of the blue milk and did not care for it.
Oh, I had some of it too.
Yeah.
It was
too much fruit juice in a milk.
not good.
Yeah,
it's just not good.
Yeah.
Their blue Powerade punch thing that they have though, it's like still top tier. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking back on it, that might have given me diabetes with how sweet it was, but I can make that joke.
Yeah. I'm not gonna fight you on that joke. I won't make the joke, but you can make it.
So yeah, no, it was just such a phenomenal time. I forgot actually. Best ride actually is Millennium Falcon, hands down. Smuggler's Run is without a doubt the best ride. I take it back. That is by far the best ride.
That in particular was so much fun. Again, knowing the ride already myself. Us going in and then being like, all right, you guys will be the pilots, and like, do you want left or right? And you originally were like left, and I was like, that's the wrong choice. And then you were like, oh, I'll be right, because you getting to punch the hyperspace
is the best.
Was so much fun. That is one of the things that I will say is like the minor disappointment / sucky thing about going on my own is I can go on Smuggler's Run all the time if I want, because I can just do the single rider line, but I always end up being an engineer in the back, and I'm always like reliant on how good the rest of the crew is, and they usually are just terrible. So I've had so many times, and there will be times where I'm like, all right, I want to be the pilot or something like that. I want to do one like the pilot or the gunner thing, and so I'll try and like ride the ride normally, or I'll do the lightning lane thing on it or something like that, and I'll still end up like I almost never get to be the pilot. Certainly, I'll occasionally get to be a gunner if there's like another small crew or something like that. But even when I do it that way, when I get like made the engineer, I'm just like, damn it, I don't want to be the engineer every time. But it is still a very fun ride. Yeah,
I really enjoyed all three roles. Engineer I like because there's like a technical aspect to it where you are trying to like balance out stuff and make sure like that. Basically, everybody else can do the things they need to do, which is fun. It's that support role. It's fun. But yeah, no, I can see doing it over and over and over again and not getting to experience being the gunner, doing the harpoon.
I mean, yeah, in particular, there have been times where I'm sitting back there waiting to hit the harpoon and the pilots just never fly behind the thing. And I'm just like, well, I didn't get to do anything this ride because the pilots were terrible or were 2-year-old kids or something like that. Like there was definitely a time I went on that one of the like this kid who's probably like less than 5 years old was his family made him the pilot, and from the jump, as soon as like we take off, he was screaming and not having it at all. So his mom is like trying to like be both pilots basically and like lean over and like constantly trying to be like reassuring, you're doing great. And I'm just sitting back there like, all right, I'm just going to be pushing all the buttons because everything is going to break on this trip. But yeah, it's still, especially if you get like a good group, a fun group to go with, it is absolutely a blast. And yeah, there is a special fun set of joy of being the right pilot that, like, all right, push, like, jump, make the jump to hyperspace, and you like pull that thing and boom. Yeah. It is absolutely a pleasure. And it's just like, yeah, it's again that the joy of doing like the adult Disney thing in Star Wars land and just getting to be immersed in that. Like, I also shout out to like the fun pictures that we got, like, the picture with you and the Porg on it, or an X-wing flying overhead or something like that. Yeah, a delight there. Then I also want to just real quick give a shout out to my end of the year trip, where I got to also see and like take the tour of Walt's apartment. That was just a really cool thing for like a lifelong Disney fan. As I've gotten, as 2022 became the year I fully embraced being an adult fan of Disney, and adult fan of Lego, and just kind of, yeah, having fun with those things. So those are some things that I really enjoyed there in 2022. Do you have another one from your list?
Yeah, I think it'll be on both of our lists, but actual play stuff this year was fantastic.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
think the best thing we got to experience was the crossoverification of Critical Role, and Dimension 20.
Yeah.
Abria Ironguard kind of being that middle piece on a lot of stuff. Shout out to also the stuff she did with Roll 20 this year, which was just awesome. It was, if you're a fan of actual play and you haven't watched the Citizen Dr. Abraham Hermbler, anything with him in it with Brandon Lee Mulligan, I would highly suggest you go do it. If you're a fan of actual play stuff, it is some of the best stuff, and seeing Brendan Lee Mulligan prove that he is not just the best DM, but also the best player, in my opinion, has just been an absolute treat this year. Him doing the Critical Role thing with EXU Calamity was unbelievable. It was the first like actual piece of Critical Role stuff I've seen in years. It was just super impressive to see him kind of take this world that was somebody else's and bring such a great spin on this very isolated narrative. And also seeing kind of like the collaboration around it as they kind of like built it out, and seeing the triumvirate of Abria Iyengar, Matt Mercer, and Brandon Lee Mulligan do like a Dungeon Master special. It was just awesome. As somebody who's like a semi-retired, soon to be out of retirement DM, it was really cool to see like these people who like irrevocably have changed the way that I look at approaching being a game master, or a narrator of a story, and like kind of shepherding players through stuff. It has changed my my perspective on what it means to be running a game at a table. And I think it's just only been for the better. It's just been truly incredible to see kind of like these people who are masters of their craft really show off why tabletop gaming is awesome. So it's just been awesome. This year has just been awesome for tabletop gaming in general.
Yeah, this 2022 was like the first year I was like just fully in. Like I spent the tail end of 2021 just like embracing and getting super caught up and just binging a whole bunch of Dimension 20 stuff. And so like Starstruck Odyssey was the first like Dimension 20 thing I was watching week to week as it was coming out, and just kind of getting to enjoy it like at the pace that like typically that stuff was enjoyed. And like there was so much fun in that crew doing their thing, and like them all getting to be together again for the first time since like the pandemic stuff. So yeah, shout out to that. Shout out to Court of Fan Flowers, which was like immediately shot up to one of my favorite Dimension 20 seasons, in part because Abria is great as a game master, and yeah, Brennan is a delight. The chaos energy between Emily Axford and Lou Wilson was just a like blast and joy, and had some of my just funny, like the constant one-upping of one another when they're in like a couple of their scenes together, like revealing their secrets to one another, was just like, yes, thank you so much for sharing your chaos with us. But yeah, then EXU Calamity was probably my just one of my favorite things, like period of 2022. It was the thing that like got me over to Critical Role to give them a check out, and I've watched that like front to back probably 4 or 5 times since it originally came out. It got like I had watched my extent of Critical Role prior to that was I'd watched the first season Legend of Vox Machina, which is it's also in my like shout outs. Was I really enjoyed that just as a show, not knowing the campaign and stuff prior to watching it back at the beginning of the year. But I had like a fun time with that. And then I had seen like the one shot crossover thing they did with Kind of Funny years and years ago, which ends up being like notable because it's also where Laura Bailey kind of like game tested Jester as her Campaign 2 character, like well before Campaign 2 started. So like I'd seen that and I knew of Critical Role just from the ecosystem and stuff like that. But watching EXU Calamity and just how expertly Brennan like did the Brennan thing, and every player at that table being at the top of their game. Special shout out to like Luis, who I'd never seen in anything before, and he just like crushes it, and like gets thrown in the deep end immediately from the beginning of that game. Of like, all right, introduce your character, but do so as it knowing that you've got like blood coming out of your mouth. Lou is a special fun chaos energy in there. Sam Riegel getting to. And I think he probably played with like Brennan in a thing or two before, but like Sam and Travis in particular getting to experience Brennan energy, I think was so much of a delight in that. Cause Marisha had played in the Pirates of Leviathan season. So she was well versed in it, obviously Abria and Lou. And so, yeah, it was such a joy getting to just see all of them embrace that. I can't wait to see him back over there again. And it got me to, like I first started going from there and like I jumped back to Campaign 1 Critical Role, which like the first 50 episodes of Campaign 1, which got me through like all of the Legend of Vox Machina stuff from that season. So then I went back and like rewatched it now with the context of knowing more and knowing like the references and jokes and all that stuff. And then at some point I was like, all right, I kind of want to like follow along with what's going on currently. So then I spent like most of the year catching up on Campaign 3, and I'm basically all caught up at this point. I'm I've watched like the first hour or so of the most recent episode, but I'm fully caught up with Campaign 3 stuff, and including the EXU miniseries that Abria did, which were a lot of fun. So yeah, it was definitely a fun year of actual play stuff for me as well. Highlighted first and foremost by just how beautiful EXU Calamity is. I mean, like there have been times where if I just want to feel something, I will go and watch like the last 45 minutes of EXU Calamity and just enjoy the narrative and the beautiful like ways that story wraps up, and just have a good time and like let some tears out, let it tug at my heartstrings and all that fun stuff. So absolutely shout out to all of that good stuff, goodness and good stuff.
That last episode really is just like an outright classic. Like this is how like you want to know how to play and make a big deal in somebody else's world. This is how you do it. You find the pieces, build them up, and then execute on them. Yeah. And Brandon does that so spectacularly. Yeah, I had to like, there are points where I was like, I have no idea what's going on, like what they're referencing, and everybody's freaking out. So I would like do like a search on the Critical Role wiki, and it's like, oh, okay.
Like Pervansul and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like Pervansul. It's like, what's the deal with this? And it's like, and they thought his name was Goofy. And so they gave Matt Mercer shit for it for years. And then
but it made him a memorable name, so when he pops up
they're like, oh my gosh, it's that guy.
Travis say like, no you fucking didn't, Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Yeah, he did that. Not only that, but like Pervon gets like one last thing where he goes, it's totally normal where I'm from.
Yeah, it's a totally normal name. Yeah,
yep, where I'm from is a totally normal name. Like just such a shutdown of the name joke on Sam just also being like, wait, does that mean I'm naked?
Yeah. All right, I'm shape shifting, and the last thing you see as I die is my penis turns into Brennan's face. Yeah, so many just great bits.
The best, yeah.
The summoning of the dragon. No, we don't have fucking time. All right, like
yeah. There's that, but my favorite part has to be where do you think you're weakest? Your shoulder or your elbow?
Yeah, exactly.
Or no, was it your wrist?
Yeah, it's your elbow or your wrist.
Your elbow, your wrist.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
And especially like I had a tweet earlier that like is still occasionally getting likes because I tweeted basically that like the current season that's going on right now of Dimension 20 Never After is just an entire season of Brennan with that energy. And yeah, like, or I mean, yeah, that whole like, all right, all of this happens within the first second. And like it's an hour and a half or 2 hours of like actual time just of Brennan describing all of the things that happen to all their characters and stuff like that.
I was watching that live. Like that, I was there live for that. That was, people were like freaking out in the chat hard.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was a wild thing.
Yeah. It's, I mean, like, that, yeah, the 6 hour finale kind of thing, when you realize like 3 hours are a total of 19 seconds in real world time because, you know, the ending is 3 rounds, 18 seconds plus that first never ending 1 second. Yeah, just
it has now
so
been 1 second. He cast it inside of the first one.
Yeah.
He cast it inside the first one.
He cast time stop inside of a time stop.
They're like, what? What are, like, you can't, like, Lou Wilson just being like, yes, this is my friend. Yeah. Yes, this is him. This is what he does.
Yeah. All right. He burns a 9th level counterspell and rips your face off. Okay. Yeah.
He takes where his claws have dug into the back of your skull and peel and like tears your, and everybody's just like, and Lou's just like, yes.
Yep.
Yes, this is my friend. This is the guy I know.
Yep.
I came to this table and you guys are like, oh, we're excited to have you two here. It's like, we're never getting invited back. Like the energy Lou has in that moment is the energy of like, we're like, I had better enjoy this because like, we're not getting invited back. Brennan peed and shit on the rug. We're never allowed to come back. No, it was so good. It was so good. Their Twitter spaces, if you haven't had an opportunity to check that out, that was awesome. Noticeably, Lou Wilson was not there because Lou in particular does not hang out on Twitter. He doesn't have a Twitter.
Yeah.
And so then they did the EXU like show, like the special sit down on the couch with it. There was the Dungeon Master special that they did with Abria, Matt, and Brennan, where basically Abria and Brennan got to fanboy and fangirl over Matt Mercer's world that he built out. And Matt's like, well, you know, it's never really done. It's like and Brennan's just like, no, with this available at your local game store. It's like
the book. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you did it. You sell it, man. Sell it.
I mean, yeah, so much of that, like I love that in particular because it is like them all. It's them all fanboying and fangirling over each other.
Yeah.
It's Brennan and Bria loving Matt's world, but then Matt equally loving, like, I'm so glad I get to play in this with other people, and like I loved handing over the reins to you and all those kinds of things. I would love to see, much like in the other EXU stuff, Matt getting to play like in Abria's game. I would love to see a Matt character in a Brennan run element in Exandria. I think that would be a very fun because like I've seen Matt play under Brennan in a couple other things.
I still need to watch
Dimension
Pirates of
Leviathan, but also the Escape from Castle Bloodkeep.
Escape from Castle Bloodkeep was awesome.
Yeah, that was probably the first thing I ever saw Matt in, apart from like the Kind of Funny thing, which was before I was really like paying attention to actual play stuff, and just being like seeing Matt in that, knowing that he's like the forever DM of Critical Role. I was just like, this is so much fun for him getting to just play and getting to have fun. And it's you know, one of their fun seasons, because it is such a like, all right, we're just going to take the piss out of everything Lord of the Rings in this season. That was like one of the first things I got to see Erika Ishii in play in and stuff like
Erika
that.
Ishii's so cool. She's awesome.
Very excited. Shout out to in 2023 things. Shout out to their Worlds Beyond Number upcoming series of actual play stuff.
Did you see the latest message that they put out about it?
The last one I saw was basically like announcing the names of the characters, and Brennan's going to be the GM for it.
Yeah, and they're the whole thing. They're like, yeah, we want to do our own like long term consistent game of this, and it's like. One, I can't wait to see Brennan not have to like do just like a short season of something. Like he gets to actually expand out a world.
Yeah.
And also I can't wait to see the character, because like the players that they're going to have at that table are going to be awesome. And I can't wait for everything from it. It's just going to be so cool.
Yeah.
And now that one of my favorite things is they're like, are there additional tiers? And the response is no.
Nope, $5.
$5, one tier, $5. That's it.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't like maybe in the future, but no, for right now, one tier, $5. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. I'm so excited for that. That's like a day one sign up, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's I whenever I see like things pop up, I'm like, oh, has their Patreon open again? And I'm like, no, it was February 1st is when they're opening that up. And then that's when stuff will start trickling out. And then like March is when they're doing like their full blown launch of stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's like my new routine is going to be, all right, there's Dimension 20, there's Critical Role, and now there's this that I'm going to have to find time for. And I can't wait.
I have the advantage of not having to worry about Critical Role stuff.
There you go.
So.
And like the Critical Role stuff is one that like I find time for usually while I'm doing other things.
I love the super clips that come out of Critical Role stuff.
Yeah,
like this latest season's the clips coming out from it have been tremendous. I'm a big fan of them. Like there's something about season 1 where it's like it really like it doesn't rub me the wrong way, but it's hard for me to get into it when I know there's like pre-existing stuff that's not part of the actual storytelling.
Yeah.
Season 2 I tried to get into, but I was just kind of like not in a place for that. Season 3 has been something more of a I like a lot of these characters. Everybody's playing very weird, fun characters.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's playing a generic anything, and I'm super into that.
Yeah. I think season 3 also did a great thing. This was probably in 2021 when they did it, but they like season 2, I think, from what I understand, like there was a big kind of like all of the characters were kind of like guarded and didn't like open up to each other for the first good chunk of the campaign. This one, like the team kind of all gets thrown together, and then like episode 5 or 6 or something like that, one of the characters is like, all right, we're gonna have a drinking game that's called What the Fuck's Up With That, and we're gonna just tell each other our backstories and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And
that's great.
And basically like we're like, it's the drinking game is, all right, I'm gonna ask you a question that's gonna end with the phrase "What the fuck is up with that?" and you answer or you drink, and everybody.
Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, I remember the clips from this. This was awesome. This was awesome because this was it was not is his character Alistair in this one?
Ashton.
Yeah, Ashton.
Talison's
character this season is one of my favorites because if you have ever seen him do any of the live actual play of Vampire by Night or LA by Night, his guest star character. So I was introduced to that because I found out Brennan Lee Mulligan plays a priest in that game as a guest star, and I was like, I gotta watch that. And it starts off with Taliesin Jaffe being there with his character. Ashton is like the most like that character, and I love seeing Taliesin be like a punk at heart and seeing that come out that way. And I'm just like, this is awesome. I never like that. That's one of the things that's like a lot of these other so it was like I didn't really get like there was like a backstory, but not like a really fleshed out backstory. Season 1, season 2 really guarded characters that I really didn't feel like I could find like an attachment to, I guess. Now that you say that, that does make sense. Like I just wasn't able to connect to any of them. And then season 3 though, immediately it's like I love psychic horse girl.
Yep.
I'm not saying she's a psychic horse, female who's a psychic horse. I like that she's a horse girl who's psychic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the fawn. Like, will she? Probably not. Like, fat chance, won't she? With or will they? Won't they? With
Chetney.
With Chetney. Chetney is by far one of my favorite characters in years. What does RTA stand for? Respect the alpha.
Yeah.
It's like just just all of that. All of that just being like, it's like, oh, that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Fresh cut grass being like a psycho murder robot in disguise as a life cleric. Fantastic. Like there's really just great, awesome.
Laudna just
yeah,
undead character from campaign 1.
Yeah,
basically.
Like, hey, you know that character from campaign 1, the one that had like her ears like nipped like that? Yeah, this is her. It's like, first off, great way to pull in some backstory from this world. Second off, what a great fun character concept of an undead, not so warlock type patron type thing going on.
Yeah.
She has a marionette rat that I love. Because you know that thing just like reeks so hard. And it's on like marionette strings as she plays with it. I love that. Orem being like the straight man, but he's like this like absolute hunk. It's like love seeing that.
Like every morning Liam's just like, all right, and he's doing these kinds of curls, or he just finished 50 pull-ups, and everyone's like, fuck you, man.
Because he's a fighter. He's like, I got it. My guy's got to stay in shape. And it's like, I first off love seeing that dedication as a fighter, like character. But I also love it being like, yeah, my little, like, yeah, I might be a halfling character, but guess what? My halfling's fucking hot. And it's like, yes, sir. And I love how like he meets like people and they're like, oh, I'm interested. He's like, actually, I have a lost Lenore. Like my lost lover Lenore. And it's like, I can't be with you. Or I don't play that like I do, like with female characters. Erica's character, that was an awesome moment of like, I actually, hey, it's like so good. Like, so Critical Role this season's been great, even though like another thing also is like their episodes are so freaking long. And like, I just know that the season's going to be like 80 episodes or like 90 episodes.
I mean, they've been like 110-ish the last few campaigns.
I can't do 3 hours of 110 episodes. I just can't.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Dimension 20 works for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, that's some actual play stuff. Lots of great actual play there in 2022, and I can't wait for the more in 2023 to come. Like we're already enjoying the hell out of Nevermore every week. So
that is
shout out to that.
That is my favorite thing that we've kind of developed in our roommate lifestyle is, you want to watch Nevermore? Yeah, I've
all right.
Slide my chair,
wheel the chair in there, my room with the big TV, and boom, there we go.
Yep, and
once we get like the TV in the living room set up, we can probably do it out there instead.
It would be a lot easier, yeah.
Yeah. Just sit on the couch that we never use.
Yeah.
Other things I want to give some love to. On the Disney Plus front, I want to give a special shout out to Werewolf by Night, which I thought was just an incredible like one shot kind of like different kind of Marvel storytelling, and Michael Giacchino just did a great job with this like throwback era kind of horror thing.
Something I really hope that we continue seeing more of from like Marvel properties, because there's such great stuff in the Marvel library, like the canon from like the 60s and 70s that like will not really work today in like a bigger audience, but something like Werewolf by Night, it's absolutely perfect for.
Yeah. On the general Marvel stuff, I want to give shout outs to Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. Like the entire runs of those shows I had a lot of fun with. And also less Moon Knight, but Oscar Isaac's performance in Moon Knight I thought was really, really strong and really good from the beginning of the year. But yeah, Miss Marvel was, I think, the standout. It was like Miss Marvel on the TV side of things, and then Black Panther, like we talked about last week, on the film side of things, were the standout MCU things for me this year.
I will say Moon Knight works for me, but the problem with Moon Knight, it has absolutely nothing to do with Oscar Isaac. It has nothing to do with Ethan Hawke. The acting and the actors and like a lot of the stuff about Moon Knight is absolutely fantastic. There is just a lot of dropping the ball moments of that production that I don't want to just be like, well, it's COVID, because we've seen other shows take on COVID, like COVID issues, and deal with that. Granted, Moon Knight is like traveling internationally. So like there is a little bit of a difference with that, but there's just some strong choices that were made creatively around Moon Knight from the show running perspective that is a rougher, like it makes it a rougher thing to get behind and really root and like rally around. Then I think a lot of people are like because we expect excellence. And so when we just get pretty good to great, sometimes that can feel like less than.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just Moon Knight, like Moon Knight itself. Moon Knight was good to great for me, but like Miss Marvel, in comparison, Miss Marvel and She-Hulk were excellent. I had like they were just the absolute standouts. She-Hulk maintaining a consistent quality of CGI with Jennifer, with the She-Hulk herself, the titular. Thank you. Titular character, just the consistency of the CGI, not really running wild, not having to, like, there's some issues, sure, but it's like, yeah, but that means that this episode's like 95% CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's CGI in 95% of this episode because the main character is CGI.
Yeah.
And the way that they were able to consistently like make that work was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Also shout out to She-Hulk and Daredevil just banging it out.
Yep.
It was great.
Yep. And then lastly, on the Disney Plus side of things, I think I imagine probably one of both of our favorite things of the year, Andor. Probably the best Star Wars thing certainly in years, if not, up there among the best of all time. Just such a stellar show from start to finish. So much great performances, incredible, like probably the best writing Star Wars has ever had.
I agree.
And just some really like wonderfully profound arcs that do the best thing when Star Wars is like speaking to the culture, speaking to the moment, speaking to a historical like fact. And so, whether it's the colonization stuff of the Aldani stuff or the prison, conversation around those episodes on Narkina 5, just so much great stuff with, grounded by incredible performances from Stellan Skarsgård, as well as, why am I blanking on his name? Andor himself.
Luna.
Not Gabriel Luna.
That's Gabriel Luna.
No, he's Gabriel Luna is Tommy in Last of Us.
Then who am I thinking of? Shoot, I thought that was Gabriel Luna. No, you're right. Gabriel Luna's Tommy in that.
Andor. Blah 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 blah. Diego Luna.
Luna.
You were right on the Luna front. I went Gabriel.
I was like, I know his last name's Luna. I couldn't remember because Diego and Adrian are like competing in my brain right now.
Yeah.
Because Last of Us came out this year.
There we go. Yes.
That's been something that we'll probably talk about at the end of this year about like our favorite things from this year.
Indeed. Yeah. But yes, like Cyril Karn as another like great character.
Jeez, yes.
And the whole ISB storyline, all that stuff.
Oh, shout out to getting to see like Coruscant, not as like from like the top level, but from like how people actually move around and live in Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
And you see so much of like what makes his character move is that aspect of just like being shoved in a shoebox of a shoe inside of a shoebox
mm-hmm.
and basically told you'll never really amount to anything. And like that,
repeatedly by your mother, by your overbearing mother.
Well, you just sit there and eat cereal. Such a great okay. As somebody who has been has been a perpetual fuck up throughout life on throughout periods of time, I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that moment of there has to be something better out there. But he just also the weird fascist romance that's just brewing in that.
Yeah.
Cause it's just it's weird, creepy, and gross. And it's the way a fascist romance should be.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the way that they've taken on and you nailed it with their approach towards talking about things like fascism and
all of the speechifying in the show, every one of those speeches is just yes, they nail everything about the sentiment of what they're trying to convey right here. Whether it's Stellan Skarsgård kind of talking about his stuff or the little revolutionary Nemec, I think.
Mm-hmm. Nemec, yeah.
All his either proselytizing when he's alive or spoilers or getting to hear his manifesto after the fact and stuff like that. And it's a special shout out to Mama Andor's speech at the end of the season. As well of fight the Empire.
So good.
Yeah.
Just everything about it is fantastic. But I think I don't think I'll ever forget like Stellan Skarsgård being in that like that overhanging part of like a really run down part of Coruscant, and him like being challenged by somebody being like what have you sacrificed, and him just like looking at him and then like looking like off to the side like he's like staring off, that 1,000-yard stare that he gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks back at the guy and says, I've made my son a spotless plate, or a light.
I've made my mind a sunless place.
That's
believe,
it.
Yeah.
I've made my mind a sunless place. And it, like that entire monologue is just like 100%. I have been a revolutionary from the beginning of this. And at this point, like I'm not so far deep that I can't pull out. I have gone past that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's no longer any part of me that you could recognize separate from what I've been doing from this movement. And it's like, it's the true dilemma of what it means to be a spy, of what it means to be somebody who works in the shadows of movements, of rebellions, and what it means, because it's not just, he's not 2-faced, 3-faced, or 4-faced. It's as many faces as he needs to keep it moving. The sacrifices he knows he needs to make. The decisions he has to do. And like that moment where he's talking to Forrest Whitaker's character
Mm-hmm.
in I think the second or third to last episode, where he basically looks at him and like tells him like, you can't go on that mission.
Yeah.
And he tells him why. And like that moment of like, it's not like we're the bad guys. It's where like there are no good guys in this war. Like people think you're crazy for going too far, and I'm farther than you. And I just think that that's such a special set of moments for Stellan Skarsgård's character, who at first comes off as like a James Bond-esque character, to this is what being a spy is actually like.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it means to actually be a spy. To know that we are going to have to betray and backstab people who trust you and have relied on you.
Yeah. Obviously, we got to give a shout out to Andy Serkis.
Oh my God, Andy Serkis,
like,
yes.
Who, like, when he shows up is like, oh, cool, they put Andy Serkis in this. And then he has one of the best arcs of anything in Star Wars ever.
One Way Out.
Over the course of like 3 episodes, basically. Like going from like, I'm just keeping my head down, I'm doing my job, I'm here to do the thing and then do my time and be done, to like the end of the next episode of like how many guards are there? Never more than 12. Like when he breaks, and then the basically being forced into the role of revolutionary. Sorry, your camera is like shaking.
Oh, it's because it's not stable enough. Sorry.
It's very unstable, and I think your probably leg is shaking or something like that. So
probably,
like, I'm just seeing your face in the camera, just like do this.
Sorry.
So for the sake
I would not have been. I would not be able to see it because I don't have my glasses on.
Right. Yeah. But
thanks for picking that up.
The Kino Loy stuff is just is phenomenal, start to finish, and then so incredibly heartbreaking. His end of
my gosh,
can't swim.
I can't swim.
Yeah.
That moment where it's like, and you know that you see Andor is going to stop and try to help him, and then Andor's like pushed out by the stampede.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the last, like, Andor's so heartbreaking on so many levels, but it's done in the best, absolute best way. I think top to bottom, start to finish. Also shout out to them being like, hey, how does like the torture in the Empire work? Are they just going to beat people up? It's like, no,
it's way
so
more
much
cerebral.
worse. We found that the screams we found that the best screams to use are the ones that are associated with those of children.
Yeah. The women and the children scream. Like
seems to
those
work
break
the
the people the
best.
most. Yeah.
Like just that, like, oh, I'm a scientist. Purely, I'm a scientist, and my job was to find the best way. As somebody who has like gone through like analyst ethics courses, the ethics courses that exist for people who study analytics, specifically digital analytics and digital audiences, we are given these courses specifically so we do not end up like this. Because it's really easy for me to fall into the pattern of talking about people, not like they're people, but like their product or numbers or just information. And that was really bad when I was still in school and studying. Because it's super easy to dehumanize that element when you're talking about it from like a scientific point of view. And seeing that put on screen in such an excellent way was just like I remember like reading writings that I wrote in college and being like horrified out of it. Like the very like passe way that I wrote about just like genocide or it's like you don't recognize that you're doing it because you're referring to it as like a data point.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's moments like that. It's like, yeah, it's really easy for like, especially for like logical reasoned people to fall into this kind of like, well, I was just doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guy who like built the Nazi death camps system was like put on trial, and his whole thing was like, I was just given a job to do and I just found the best way to do it. And they're like, that's not good enough. We're still going to execute you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the death machine, like the Nazi death camps could have never been as successful as they were without you. And you knew what was going to happen to them and you did it anyway. And like, it's just like German engineering.
Yeah.
And seeing that like exemplified here with that character is horrifying.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, shout out to Andor. Just one of the best. Like for me, it was probably the best show of 2022. I know it made its way onto a lot of top 10 lists, and part of that is like some of the other shows that like people considered best of. I just didn't watch. Like I've heard great things about Severance, but I never got around to it. Obviously, Better Call Saul had its final season. I have no doubt it was great. I'm a couple seasons behind in Better Call Saul and just need to get caught up. Peacemaker is one that I don't know.
If Peacemaker
you
was
give some love.
So freaking good.
Heard great things about it, and then I was just like, it's too violent for my tastes.
100%, Trevor. You like
yep.
no, just
yep.
no.
Yeah. Anything else on your list that you want to give some love to? I've got a couple more things on mine, but
go ahead and give us another one on yours.
Sure.
While I kind of like parse through what I'm thinking.
Just a few more shows that I want to give a little bit of love to. In particular, I mentioned already on Amazon Prime, Legend of Vox Machina season 1. I got to, after watching a lot of campaign 1 stuff, I went back and like rewatched it and just had a great time enjoying it with the added context. And I'm enjoying so far here in 2023, season 1 or season 2 of Vox Machina just started. Enjoyed the first few episodes just last night. Really good stuff there. I also want to give some love to the A League of Their Own show on Amazon Prime. I'm a big fan of the original movie kind of thing. So I went into this with like some reticence of like, how are they doing this? What, like, they're making a show out of this. What is this going to be? But I'd heard like Joey Noel really liked it and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And then, just basically binge the whole season of that. I think they do a great job of like adapting the idea of A League of Their Own and some of the key kind of core plot points, but then telling their own story with it, and telling a very there's a much more kind of racially tinged version of the story that they tell that is like told kind of in tandem with a very strong LGBTQ story that were not necessarily like the focal point of the original film, and so they found like basically a really cool way to tell those stories using the A League of Their Own kind of aura and stuff like that. So there's a lot of great stuff there. On HBO Max, I want to give some love to Your Flag Means Death, or Our Flag Means Death, rather. A lot of fun, just in that, like, Taika Waititi kind of like mindset, alongside, I forget his name. I mean, he's the main guy. He's Steve Bonnet in the show. But yeah, just a lot of fun, like, New Zealand quirky humor, but mixed with like Blackbeard and pirate stuff. And yeah, Rhys Darby is who I'm thinking of there. Just a lot of fun, great ensemble kind of cast and crew around it. And Harley Quinn season 3 was also just more great Harley Quinn animation, fun stuff there. So that's a handful of my other stuff. Did you come up with anything else for your list before we wrap up?
Yes. A couple of things. For me, it is going to be something like I will give a shout out to Better Call Saul. I think it is the perfect way to end that show. It is fantastic. That last season is a very like straight to the gut punch type of season where it's setting up everything you need to see where to know where Saul is at the beginning of Breaking Bad, but then to see where Saul ends up post Breaking Bad. Is really incredible to see, kind of like getting the kind of breakdown of everything that's been happening with that world and everything else that is like where these characters leave off, especially when you consider that like certain characters didn't deserve to end, like to have their lives end in the places and ways that they did, and people made decisions that led to that point, and then people were subjected to ways that they weren't able to change. Like they made choices in the reaction period to, I'm trying to be vague about it, but also be
Mm-hmm.
like, let people know who watched know what I'm talking about. Who you made decisions that you thought were going to be like, were not going to carry further harm, and end up causing great harm to like that end up breaking down characters and relationships and stuff in a very difficult and heartbreaking manner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the last episode stands out to me as just some of the best goddamn television I've ever seen. And definitely cements, I think, Better Call Saul up there for me with Breaking Bad, if not better, in with the just kind of like practice and hindsight that Vince Gilligan had going into his second show versus his first.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Lovely. What did I have? What was I gonna give some love to? Oh, just a real quick one here, and then I have one I think would probably be, we can probably wind down on, wrap up on. That's probably, both of our favorite things, or one of our favorite things. But just as I continue to, and I think I give this like a little bit of a shout out every year. The Late Show with Seth Meyers, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Closer Look series, as well as like the Stephen Colbert monologues on the Late Show, and Last Week Tonight are just like a wonderful triumvirate for me. I pretty much watch all of them on YouTube and stuff, to kind of make sense of the world news, and enjoy it with the bleak, dark sense of humor that I can. All of their writing teams and stuff do phenomenal work, and so I want to give love and shout out to all of them, and just like that being a regular part of my like weekly routines, and the weeks when like they're all off on hiatus and stuff, I'm just like, well, I miss watching those 9 to 11 minute videos each day kind of thing. But shout out to all of them. And then the last one that I just have in general is the Kind of Funny launch of the Spare Bedroom Studio. It as a day one fan and supporter of them, like as we both are, that's how we met, is through the Kind of Funny community, by like you and I rooming together at Kind of Funny Live 1. Just getting to see how far they've come, and getting to see them finally unveil this space that they announced pre-pandemic, and everything obviously got kind of put on hold as the world changed drastically. But getting to see them finally roll that out and launch the space, and the way it has revitalized their content, them getting to all just be together in the space, and do all of the things they're doing, the different ways they can incorporate the space and use it, be it for the podcast sets or their game space for the Let's Plays and stuff like that. It's just been wonderful. I so much other content has kind of come in the way, so I don't get to see a ton of their stuff these days, but I still try and like make a point of catching an in review if it's a movie I'm interested in, or Kind of Feudy or something like that on the Patreon side of things. And so yeah, just shout out to getting to see all of them thrive and crush it and kill it. And they had friggin' Kojima introduce the space for them. It was that stream in particular was such a fun celebration of all things Kind of Funny. Anything you want to add to that?
yeah, I do. I want to give a very special shout out to a lot of the other content creators out there that I've enjoyed this year, and that I've gotten more into. Big one being Hassan Piker. Not to get too into politics on this, but as somebody who is constantly like frustrated with the not wanting to call anybody out here or get too political, but with the kind of like exasperation that comes with being a more progressive member of society, and and also kind of being frustrated with the self-righteousness and stick up the ass that a lot of sometimes people who like to talk about being about progressive things sometimes have. Like they just can't find humor in things, or they can't find the kind of humor and the like absolute nonsense garbage dumpster fire that we live in this country, that sometimes it's nice to have somebody kind of take a, not levity, but do bring a fresh, like a fresher perspective than institutionalized liberalism has been a great thing. That's as political as I'm going to get right now, but I will say that has helped keep me sane. It has helped keep me like on top of politics, but at the same time not wanting to gouge my eyes out at the like frank stupidity of like just people that run this country sometimes. So massive shout out to him also by also just having like a fun community that like he has fun with and has bits with and does fun things with in regards to just being cool, just like being cool despite being massive, and having like tens of thousands of people watching every stream, still taking time to like just cover things and do things that are a bit different. You got Hassan, you got me through the pandemic with a lot of your GTA RP. You'll never watch this, but if you do ever see this, you got me through a lot of the pandemic with your GTA RP. You made a massive fan out of me with that, and then when you went back to politics, talking about a lot more about politics, especially over the 2020 election cycle, sorry, the 2022 rather election cycle, you made a lot of that a lot more bearable than I thought it was going to, than I was going to be able to handle. So, thank you for that.
Cool. Any others?
Yeah. Also, massive shout out to Khalif Adams. Even though Ka can't cook, he sure can put together a fantastic award show. The Spawnies are coming out later. This like very soon at the very least. Keep an eye out on that. If you don't follow Ka on Twitter, do so. He is a phenomenal content creator, has been making content for years, has an awesome podcast that he often uses as a platform to bring awareness to creators who are oftentimes just like not noticed or marginalized by just algorithms and overall like kind of like the disinterest that people sometimes have towards creators of color. He does a great job of being an absolute awesome spotlight. That at that same point, I will give a massive shout out to Gamertag Radio with Paris Lilly and
Danny Pena.
Thank you, Danny Pena. Just awesome, two awesome, really great guys who have really taken it to the next level this last year. Between Danny and like breaking the medium, doing a children's book about video games and being a kid that loves video games, and bringing a spotlight to Latin creators, and bringing more eyes onto Spanish speaking content sources, both news and like actual creators and stuff. It's been awesome seeing that. Shout out to Andy Cortez, of course, for being just like not just a friend, but also just like a great person to see have good things happen to. Shout out to Snowbike Mike for just being both like just by being an enigma and a conundrum of a human being, all at the same time just like making me happy. Back to Paris Lilly. Paris Lilly absolutely dominating this year when it comes to hosting, making a name for himself out there, and like really taking a strong stance on gaming equity, as far as the kind of like the idea of people, like more people having more access to games, and championing platforms that push that, and making a big thing about how, and like kind of like breaking down this idea of like this like pseudo bullshit culture war between console ecosystems, and like breaking the mold on that, coming from a place like Gamertag Radio to doing awesome spotlights on places like PSX I Love You. Just doing awesome.
PS I Love You.
PS I Love You. Oh, PSX. PS I Love You. XOXO. Doing an awesome job with that. To everybody at Kind of Funny, you continue to inspire us. You continue to show us that there is no end to this journey of content creation, so long as you want to be a part of it. There's a place for you, and if you want to stop other people from being part of that place, you can go fuck right off. I think that's there's more. There's incredible content creators. Shout out to one content creator out there who is always making waves. Former member of that nerdy site, Chloe, Echo Chloe on Twitter and Twitch. She got her Twitter account back this year. So she's back.
Was that only 22?
I think it's only 2022. I don't think she had it back in 2021.
I feel like she had it. I feel like she's had it back for a while now.
Yeah, maybe she has. It's been like time is wonky sometimes. But shout out to her, just like once again, just keeping it up, just like out there doing more stuff. And especially lately in the last few months, just like having just really fun, chill streams, just enjoying stuff. And shout out to her, the new love of her life, Death from Puss in Boots.
Sure. Yep. All right.
And shout out to Bloody or Dead Meat.
From that where Ben is?
Where Ben is. Ben, they're doing awesome stuff. Ben just got a massive promotion with them. Massive shout out to him, just killing the game out there, doing what he's doing. We love you, Ben. I tell you all the time, even if sometimes you don't answer me back.
All right. Any final honorariums or any final love you want to give before we wrap up?
There's so many more to count, and I think we're just good to start wrapping up on this one.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, Cam, for just joining me to just talk about some other things we really loved in 2022. Especially, it is so easy to see, the negative things in the world that I like. Rather than do like here are the worst of blah 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 kinds of things, which would, I'm certain, get us like much more clicks and stuff because the algorithms are just garbage all around.
Oh yeah.
I would much rather just chat and celebrate the things that we enjoyed and loved in the year.
That's what this podcast and our platform's about.
Yep. So that is going to do it for this episode. You can find I gotta actually pull up the doc because I'm like, let's go around the metaphorical table with any plugs we might have. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. Anything you want to give a last shout out to there, Cam?
I do. A final shout out is also one of the most important ones. This is for, I know you retweeted it earlier today. I've tweeted out about it. It's something that I've been really hoping that would happen sometime soon. Friend of our show, good friend of ours.
Knowing where you were going, that's a very weird way to phrase things. It's something I was hoping would happen very soon.
No, sorry. In regards to, not that, oh my God, no, please don't take it that way. I meant the GoFundMe. I was hoping that would happen soon.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I knew what you meant, but
thank you for letting me clarify that.
It's a weird thing to be hoping for.
Well, yeah, I was hoping because a big concern is Nabishin is such a awesome dude that he
wouldn't let others help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so him asking, putting that out there for people to help is massive for him. Mm-hmm. But it also says a lot about his situation. And if you haven't already, check out my tweets, check out Trevor's. It's been going around in our kind of like our social circles for, I know that we've known for a while now, but Brian has finally opened up about it, about his diagnosis with stage 4 colon cancer. He's in treatment for it, but he's not working, which means he's on disability. And that can only really go so far. And because we live in a nightmarish, normally I say it as kind of like a pseudo joke or like a dark joke, but we do live in a very nightmarish system in healthcare where somebody as amazing and wonderful as Brian is, by getting sick like this, is going, not only having to fight for his life, but his family is, this is going to do an incredible damage to the financial capabilities of his family. And so there's currently a GoFundMe out there right now.
I had already pulled it up. It's going to be linked in the show notes and description and everything.
Yeah. Go check it out. Join your name to a plethora of people who love this man, who have, we have countless moments of wonderful experiences with this guy. He is truly tremendous. Like one of the nicest, kindest, sweetest people you'll ever meet in this world. And on top of that, has just a dope love for the things that we love and that we're nerdy about as well. He's one of my favorite people because I'll see a tweet from him on like a Saturday or Sunday morning, and I'm like, all right, anime or manga is about to be lit this week. Let's go. Like he's just one of the coolest, most awesome dudes ever. Shout out to being on his podcast where Top of the Dome. That's not such a long time ago, but he's been out there making content for years. He recently retired from making content, but he's been keeping us up to date with like what's going on in his life, and this is a massive part and a massive thing that's come up. Yeah. So if anything you can do to help, even if it's just spread the word, retweet out some of these tweets that we've been putting out. it's massive. Nabishin, Brian, he is a dear friend and brother to us, so we love him sincerely with all of our heart. We just hope he gets better and continues to just keep fighting this fight.
Indeed, yeah, it's that's the shout I had as well. Is yeah, Brian Nabishin Jackson, like one of the earliest friends in the Kind of Funny community. Like well before I ever met him, I remember like engaging with him and tweeting with him and seeing him in Twitch chats and stuff and Kind of Funny stuff, and then getting to befriend him and meet him through Rational Passions over the years and all that stuff. um when he first started kind of sharing this diagnosis in like personal circles and stuff on like Instagram or Twitter and stuff like that, it was just devastating. And it's it it's one of those things of like, it's just not fair because he's just such a like a solid guy, and to be thrown this like is just like rage inducing. So yeah, the fact that he has come out with a GoFundMe, and we can at least try and give him some kind of financial support to help him and his family through this. Especially like he's one of the biggest people I've missed getting to just see at things from the pandemic. It's just devastating. And you know, he's always in our thoughts and prayers. And if you can give him any kind of love and support, like Cameron said, through his GoFundMe, through sharing the GoFundMe with anybody else who might be able to help, he's such a wonderful, beautiful soul. And we wish him nothing but the best, and hope he can kind of fight this and fuck cancer and all that stuff. So that's going to do it for this episode. You can find any other stuff we're doing. Again, I'll have this in the show notes and all that stuff. We'll theoretically be back next week with our Game of the Year conversation. Fingers crossed, with Cameron, myself, and Frank. Should all go well there. You can find any of the news from us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends. But more importantly, if you can help Nabishin out, please do so. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.